Hello, friends and brothers. This is Justin Jones with Masonic Improvement, and I'm joined with my co-host, Dennis Yates. How you doing, Dennis?
I'm doing great. It's another good night for Freemasonry, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about, except we're not.
We are, but we're not.
No, because we need to slow the process down.
Yes.
How's that? Was that pretty good?
Man, I couldn't do it better.
I know, but I didn't look behind, so slow the process down. Man, I've wanted to do that all day long. I've been thinking about that all day. As I wish I could do that good.
Kind of remind me of that sloth on Zootopia.
I remind myself of that sloth.
Every time you tell a joke, I'm like, come on.
Yes. Remember that thought.
Yeah, so this is a real valuable topic, though. We're going to talk about slowing down the process, which is something we bring up a lot, but we don't really ever, I don't think we've ever actually dedicated an entire episode to slowing down the process. So this is why we're here.
I agree. And it's long overdue. We should have done this a long time ago before we ever, before we talked about a lot of stuff, because really the biggest failure we do as Freemasons is hurry people through the process.
Why is that, Dennis?
We're failing them because they don't know what they're a part of. They don't understand what they're supposed to understand when they get to the other end. So people wonder why they walk out the door. Well, that's because they have no connection to you, because they have no understanding of what they're a part of completely. In my opinion. I mean, that's one way.
There's a psychological factor to it, even if we don't conscientiously acknowledge it. And that is, if you get something easily, it loses value. When you give something to someone quickly, it is done easily, and it will have no value. Right?
I agree.
It's like going into a fast food restaurant. You go in, get what you want, and then you leave. And you're not expected to come back. You're not expected to. You don't have to sit down if you don't want to. You get up and leave. It's cheap. It's fast. You take care of business and you leave. And that's how we're treating our lodges, like a fast food restaurant.
Oh man, I used to have a sign on my desk when I owned my shops, my transmission shops, and it said cheap, fast, and good. And I said you can pick two, but you can't have all three. You can have good and fast, but it's not going to be cheap. If you have fast and cheap, it's not going to be very good, and so forth. So you get the picture. But that's I think that when we speed up the process, we're cheapening the process for our brothers. Instead of, they have a lifetime to do this.
Yeah.
So instead of rushing them through so that so they get to see the mysteries, why don't you slow down so that you can experience the mysteries?
Yeah. I mean, let's not beat around the bush, because you hit on it pretty well. If you are accepted to be a Mason, and barring you doing something foolish, or you will always be a Mason for the rest of your life. Furthermore, just because somebody checks all the boxes on the petition does not mean that they are qualified or deserving to be a Mason. Nobody has a right to be a Freemason. It is earned. And the fact that we get excited when we get a new petitioner, and we get all these ideas like, oh, we got this new prospect and he's going to go through the East, he's going to be a great Mason. We don't know that. Well, all we have to go off of is our experience with him so far. And usually in many lodges, that is a very small period of time. And one brother may know the guy really well, and you see that a lot. But that is no reason to fastball through everything. no reason to speed up the process just because one brother knows them. We have all seen it numerous times where there's a guy, he's the brother's grandson, or he works with a brother, or he just knows, he's known him for several years, and they're what's they're lukewarm. They're lukewarm at EA. If you're lukewarm EA, are you going to be a on fire Mason? No, because you're already lukewarm right off the bat. And I would even argue, if you are someone's friend or you are someone's grandson, I'm not talking about anyone specifically. I was a grandson of a Mason, but even if you were someone's grandson, they need more time. I think they need more time because you shouldn't feel coerced in any way to join. And if my granddad's a Mason and I feel like I need to do it because my granddad wants me to, I need to do it before my granddad dies, or something like that. I'm sorry, that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. And
Right.
it, you can make a lot of members very quickly, but making Masons takes time and intention.
I recently witnessed a Mason pack up his toys and go home just because he didn't get a vote, or his vote didn't win because he didn't get his way. And I was thinking about that, and I was pretty upset at first. And then I realized, this guy, you know, granted he's been a Mason for quite a while, but he was also a Mason in a day. So did he really go through everything I went through? Did he really have the brothers that you know held him accountable for his progression within the fraternity? No. And I've seen that in several instances. We talk about, we want brothers that can afford the fraternity a lot, right? We want someone who can afford the fraternity. In fact, that's going to come up further in this show. However, I'm not interested in a brother that's just going to throw money at the fraternity just to get everything that he wants, to get all the accolades that he has. We have this saying in Freemasonry: you can have all the masonry you can afford, and this is true. But there comes a time when throwing money at it, it starts to lose its luster. There also comes a certain amount of accountability and learning what you're a part of as you go along as well.
I wanted to say a minute ago, a lodge, and I kind of said this before, a lodge is only as strong as its weakest brother. And I said brother. I almost said member, but I was intentionally saying brother, because when a lodge has more members than it has Masons, brothers, that's when things start to go downhill. And honestly, most lodges have more members than brothers right now, but they're not necessarily at critical mass. There's a certain critical mass that, and we'll probably talk about this way more in our next episode, but there's a certain critical mass when it's time just to, it's done. It's never going to be a Masonic lodge again. There's nothing you can do. But what you can do now in many lodges is, instead of making members, you have to start making Masons, which means you have to start being intentional. So let's talk, Dennis, about how do we intentionally slow this process down so that we can actually make Masons instead of just members.
First thing out of the gate, when someone, let's say they email or message through Facebook or TikTok, or however they reach out, what would be your first response?
Well, first of all, if they're reaching out through email, Facebook, whatever, you need to be prompt. They need to know right away.
Definitely need to be prompt, but what would that prompt response be?
A prompt response would be something along the lines of inviting them out for coffee, or like a sandwich, like a something very informal.
I would slow it down even further. I'd slow it down even further. My first response has always been, when I get an email from any of the websites that I manage, my first response is, why are you interested?
Yeah.
And then I dig further, and then I dig further, and then I dig further before I even ask them, hey, you wanna go get something to drink, or me and a few guys are gonna go have a drink at the bar or whatever. Why don't you come up and visit with us for a little bit?
That's a
You
good
know,
point.
that's I personally will vet them before they ever get to the
Okay.
point of the lodge,
Why would you do it that way?
because I want to make sure that I'm willing for that person to be a part of what I'm a part of. Because once I open that door, I can't be sure that the next guy is not just going to come in and pat his back and say, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
But I have that opportunity right then and there to say, well, wait a second. Am I comfortable with you hanging out with my family right now? I mean, maybe you have good mannerisms and all that kind of stuff, and that's very first thing. I mean, you dress for the job you want, you don't dress for the job you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the mannerisms, the actions of how that person approaches me, if they feel too demanding, if they feel too nonchalant, if they feel like, oh, I'm the gift of God's green earth and I'm here to, help save your world. I hear your numbers are fleeting. I'll come in and take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are all triggers that I'm thinking about when I'm having those first conversations.
Well, what I liked about the way you said you would approach it, and you're 100% right, is you got to test them at different links, and so you start probing them online, because if they're crazy, let's be honest, or if they're just coming across the wrong way, like this is, I can already tell this is not the kind of guy I want my lodge. You never, they don't ever see your face. You don't ever interact outside of that. But if that's a good conversation, if things are checking out, okay, we can move to the next step, which is still a public place. Because, as we said before, it's easy to put on a facade for a short amount of time. Honestly, if you have two brain cells, it's easy to put on a facade online when you're talking to people. But when you're meeting in person, sure, you can do it for a little bit. But as this timeline goes on, and we'll talk about that, it's harder and harder to keep it all together, and things start to slip through the cracks as these people get more comfortable with you. So what is the next step after this?
Well,
Say
before we go to the next step, I want to give a for instance. We had a brother one time that came on our show during a live, and and we talked to him, said, hey, we'll get you in touch with some people, and boy, that guy got aggressively upset that we weren't just bowing to his will, and it's like, oh my gosh, delete, bye bye now. So that's so that
yeah.
for that's a perfect example when we refer somebody to someone, we've already vetted them to some degree. We're not going to let somebody um, with a picture of some, and I hate to put it this way, but some multi-millionaire looking fly guy and with a Nigerian name. Why aren't you showing me who you really are?
Yeah.
If you're good enough for this fraternity, you're going to show me who you really are. But go ahead, go next steps.
All right. So this is assuming that you have spoken with them online or whatever medium they reached out to you, and you got a feel for them. The vibes positive so far. You went to a coffee shop or something, and you've discussed same thing, and you can still ask the same questions, and I'd probably recommend it. Ask those probing questions again and see if they're consistent, and see how his mannerisms are. Just get the best vibe you can from this person. Um, Would you do it more than once, Dennis?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
How many times would you do it?
I would do it 3 times.
Would you bring other people with
Three
you
three's a good
over
number.
time? Just kind of
Oh,
slowly.
I'm absolutely. As a matter of fact, I may meet them the first time myself, um, but the second time and third time, I'm going to have somebody with me to
Yeah,
see how they feel
yeah,
because we all pick up on different mannerisms that other people won't pick up on,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
so it's good to have that kind
I
of
mean,
diversity.
even better if you have a brother that's in law enforcement or something that's actually trained to read
Oh,
people.
oh, guess what? I got those.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, down here, man, we got plenty of them, and I'm not afraid to use them.
So after a few times meeting somewhere publicly, I would say personally at that time, it's probably time to go ahead and bring them to the lodge, and not into the lodge, not into the lodge room, but to the
Yeah,
lodge.
let's tap into this just
Let's
a little
tap into
bit.
that. Let's
So
dive into
first,
that because that's
well,
important.
right. Well, first I want to say, when I want to introduce somebody to the lodge, I don't just say, "Hey, we have a stated meeting at this time. Show up for dinner." I don't just say that. So I will do it. It's kind of like let's say a soft handoff. So I'm going to make sure that I'm available to go up there and meet that person there and introduce them to certain people. And to be honest with you, I think that there's no better time than before my floor school than to do that. And the reason why is because everybody that shows up to my floor school at Goliad, they're intentional with their Freemasonry. So you're going to have all the people who are vested and invested in our lodge.
It's a great point.
Many of them past masters.
I think one of the biggest things that gets missed when we're rushing everybody through, so we're at the lodge right now, is we do this best to disperse, dispel, cast away all this mystery. But we want them to be as comfortable as possible so that they'll turn in their petition. And so
Oh
when
yeah, we don't want them to think that we're an occult. No,
well, if
we
they
ain't
thought
no
we were in a
occult.
cult, they wouldn't have showed up probably to start with, right?
We ain't no occult.
Where we're trying to oversell when the buyer is already interested. And I mean that's like from a business perspective, but that's like when you're doing financial plan, like when I was doing financial planning. If a client is like, yeah, they're giving vibes like, yeah, they want to come work do business with you, and you're like, tell you
You
what,
you push them
I'll
the
cut my
pin and
escrow.
you shut up.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't go cut your commissions.
yeah, like they're already gonna do it. They're already gonna sign up probably. It's like, but wait, there's more. So you're selling yourself short. If they're at your lodge, especially if you've already done this process, like Dennis and I are talking about, if you already talked about it quite a bit through whatever medium he reached out to you on, if you've already met in public several times, he's already somewhat invested. He's already interested. He's still showing up. I don't have to sell him on the fraternity, right? All I got to do is be sure he's a good fit, and that's by interacting with people, interacting with the lodge, the brothers, not going into the lodge room. Okay, that what was it called? We used to do it several years ago where it was mandatory. We had to have the open house and show
Oh,
everybody.
the open
That was
houses.
that
I
was the
hated
worst
them.
thing ever. And
Yeah,
whoever thought of it, I'm sorry. I know they were probably trying to do good by the fraternity. It was the opposite.
yeah.
This
I
is
was all excited about it as the junior warden, and then I realized the damage that can come of that. And well, and really, it took me all of about 2 times of doing it to see that most people were just walking through and just browsing just to see what we're all about and then walking right on out. They didn't
yeah.
care about, they just wanted to see our secrets and then walk out the door.
Honestly, I feel the same way about doing open installations. I feel the same way about doing scholarship awards and bringing everybody into the lodge. Bringing someone into the lodge isn't going to make them turn in a petition. They're not going to sit in the lodge room with a whole bunch of stuff that they don't understand or go and see it all explained to them. And they're going to say, oh, well, I want a petition since I'm already here and I've seen all these things. Either they're already interested and they would have reached out to you, or you're just a curiosity. You're like a sideshow to them.
What's the absolute worst thing you can say when you're at that point and they're at the lodge?
Bring out the goat.
Good one.
Tell
There
me,
ain't
Dennis,
no secrets in Freemasonry.
if those were the secrets, then you'd be right.
Yep.
But the secrets of Freemasonry have to be experienced. You
And
can't
that's
communicate them.
and that's one of the problems is that we had talked about, we had alluded to earlier about people who shouldn't be in the fraternity maybe, and people who don't really know what they're a part of. And that's how you can tell if somebody doesn't know what they're a part of.
Oh yeah. And some of them have been a member for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years in some
Oh
cases.
yeah,
No
for
idea
sure.
what Freemasonry really is.
Well, yeah, because there was a period that Freemasonry was a totally different thing.
Mhm.
And not only that, but you know, there's always these pockets of little lodges that do their own thing no matter what anybody says or whatever. you know there's lodges that the only thing they do is focus on raising money for charity all the
Mhm.
time. That's the only thing they focus on.
I
Degrees
got you.
are not what they do. They're just just something they do if they need to. If
It's just a
somebody,
part of the process.
yeah, if they need to, they'll do a degree. But otherwise they don't care because their job is to raise money.
Oh yeah. So you're saying they're totally even bypassing the degrees.
Yeah, they don't even care if they do degrees or not. They're just interested in making sure
Well,
that they hit that $50,000 every year in charity, you know,
well, first of
charity
all,
work that's not theirs.
they're definitely not making Masons. And second of
No,
all, raising other people's money and giving away is not charity.
transferring wealth. Yeah.
Yes, to transferring wealth. Exactly. All right. So they have come and visited. How many times would you say they should come visit?
Oh goodness. My favorite lodges that really focus on slowing down the process, uh, they typically wait minimally 6 months.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I
And
was thinking.
now
That's
ask me
ideal.
why.
Why?
Because if they're coming to a stated meeting or even a floor school, well, more so if they're coming to a stated meeting to meet all the brothers, then that only happens once a month. So you're going to see them 6 times total in this process.
Hmm.
That is not enough to really know a man,
I agree. I agree. So,
especially when you're only eating dinner for 1 hour before lodge.
well, and I've also seen lots of lodges that are not intentional about sitting with these people. So they'll come and they'll visit a little bit, but ultimately they're sitting kind of by themselves, not talking to anybody.
Right.
Shame on you, first of all. Shame on
Yeah.
all of us. We've all done it. We've all seen it and allowed it to happen. We have
Yes.
to get out of the practice of that.
Well, that's why we have such a great mentor program that's out there that Grand Lodge has on the in Grandview. That was created by Chris, Brad, and I think uh, Larry Fitzpatrick,
Mhm.
and it was created to fix that exact problem by almost assigning somebody as soon as there's a somebody that's interested, a prospect that walks through the door. You're basically assigning somebody to that person
Yeah.
to be their guy, their
And,
mentor
and
during that process.
I was thinking about that program as well because it has a section. So it has a section for inner apprentices, fellow crafted masters, but it also has a section for people before they petition that explains a lot of the things that people need to know. Because if they've been going for 6 months and don't understand that, hey, there's a financial commitment, hey, there's a time commitment, hey, there is a memory and public speaking aspect to this. So if your memory sucks and you suck at public speaking and you're not willing to get better, this is not for you. And it doesn't matter if you check all the other boxes. If you're not willing to memorize or you just can't memorize things, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
It's
and
not for you.
you need to have people in place that are there. You will never hear them say "come as you are." because that's just not what we're about.
We're not a Baptist church.
No, no, we're not looking for members. We're looking for Masons. And so it's not just a come as you are. We want people who are intentional. Like I said previously, you dress for the job that you want.
You gotta come dressed for work.
Right. And so I don't necessarily mean that you have to wear a suit or whatever, but that mentor will tell them there may come a time that you need a suit. Do you own a suit? There may come a time that this or that. Can you fulfill this or that? There are certain things that the mentor can do, and they can also, on the flip side of that, they will know what not to do. They'll already know that you don't say there ain't no secrets in Freemasonry. They'll already know you don't take them into the lodge room. They'll already know that you know exactly how far you go with this conversation before you either hand them off to somebody else to start that process all over again, because you need more than one person to do it. But it's, I don't know.
So I will say the reason that, if anyone's wondering, if we weren't clear, the reason that you do not take that prospect into the lodge room is because our degrees are rites of passage, and a rite of passage without mystery is just a formality at that point. These are rituals designed to have a very certain psychological impact, and when you take away the mystery, you pull the rug out from under it, and it's very important.
Well, it's multi-sensory learning, and at that point, you're taking out several of the senses. If you don't get that whiff of mildew for the first time, then it takes all the mystery out.
Yeah. Well, and if you don't believe me, try it, man. Try it. Try it. Next time you get a petition at your lodge, whoever's watching this, if you're like, "Oh, that's BS." Next time you get a petition at your lodge, don't let them into your lodge room. If you don't do anything else tonight, don't let them into your lodge room, and then give him the best EA degree he can receive without him seeing that lodge room until the proper time.
See what he says after that.
You see what he says after that.
See what the response is to that degree based off of, versus the ones that you've.
Yeah. If you want a mundane lodge, if you want mundane members, then practice mundane Freemasonry. It's not even Freemasonry at that point. Practice mundane ritual, and everything will stay mundane.
Yes.
And if you have a hard time convincing everybody, "Hey, let's slow this down. Let's slow this down," then just do that. Start with that. Do not let them into that lodge room. I would even argue that there's value in keeping EAs and fellowcrafts out of there until they're masters. And it's not because I'm an old school Mason. It's because they spend time learning outside, and they get to know the lodge because they're assisting with things behind the scenes. But anyway,
right. Well, they get a chance to learn administratively. Yeah.
Yep. Service.
Mm-hmm.
So they have petitioned. 6 months, 7 months, 8 months down the road, by the time it's all said and done, they have petitioned. What do you think then, Dennis?
Now is really one of the most important parts, which is the investigation.
Yeah.
When we, and one of the things that ticks me off really bad is when we vote and decide that someone will get or we read the petition and assign the committee. Somebody always wants to call that guy and tell him, "Oh, there's a process now. We're going to have the investigation team come in. They're going to do this. They're going to do that." There's one person that needs to call, and that should be the chairman of the investigation committee. And that person should be very knowledgeable in what that process is. That should always be a seasoned past master. It should not be the first guy that the guy that was just raised in the lodge. Nope. It should be a seasoned past master. Why do you think that would be?
because they need to be familiar with the processes that you have in place at the lodge. They also need to have experience doing investigations and asking probing questions. If they're a new guy, they're not familiar. They're nervous. I would think I would think the new people could maybe apprentice, be on the committee, but they're not in charge of it. They're learning how this is done.